blankets at perslofunerals.com.au, because every goodbye is different.
This is the Sattler Files. Welcome back to the Sattler Files. This is Murray Korf, and joining me again is Daniel McKeag. G'day, Daniel.
Good morning, Murray.
Sounding a little bit husky there. Have you got a little throat thing happening, have you?
I've just come back from holidays, and you know what it's like being on a plane. You catch all the lurgies.
Yeah, certainly do, don't you?
You do indeed.
Yeah. Daniel, I think perhaps given the weather that we've been having in the last little while, it's been pretty cold, and of course Perslo's run the Anglicare appeal, don't they? The blanket appeal.
We do.
And that's in full swing as we speak. So perhaps we should just go over how people can participate in that, because it's such a worthy and community-spirited thing to be doing. And how's it going?
It's going great. This is our 5th year that we've been doing the Anglicare blanket appeal.
Mm-hmm.
And it's something that's getting stronger and stronger every year.
Right.
We promote it through things like community newspapers, all the families that obviously we deal with throughout the year, get a brochure talking about what they can do around this time. So, you know, a lot of us have got a whole laundry full of blankets that, that we no longer pull out.
Yeah.
And what we ask is that we use of all of our funeral homes as collection points. And we collect the blankets there and pass them through to Anglicare. We also, for every blanket that's donated by the public, we match that 1 for 1, and we go out and buy a whole pile of blankets. And so far this year, in the last few months, we've gone out and bought 350 blankets.
Oh, fantastic!
To be able to donate to Anglicare along with those that have been, you know, provided by the community. So it's a very, very worthwhile cause, and they go directly to families that are struggling, and you know we turn them over pretty quick as they come into the funeral home, so that they're not just sitting there and waiting for somebody. And Anglicare are great in being able to distribute those to everybody from the homeless to the underprivileged or anybody who really needs that warmth.
Look, what a great partnership between Perslo's and Anglicare to do this. I mean, it's such a community-spirited process, and I mean, they're just things that we can pull out of the blankets, we can pull out of the cupboard, drop them off at a Perslo funeral home, and they'll make sure that they reach the right people.
Definitely. And, you know, part of our community awareness too is, you know, you can come into the funeral home, you can notice that it's not actually that scary, and you can deal with our beautiful staff, and, you know, they'll welcome you in if you wanted to have a coffee or a bit of a look around the chapels and bits and pieces. It gives you an opportunity to do that too. You know, we're not taboo.
No,
you know,
of course
you drive
not.
past us every day. And,
Indeed you do.
You wonder what's inside. So grab a blanket out of your cupboard and come in and, you know, donate that, know that we'll match that in a donation, and have a bit of a look around.
As I said before, it's a magnificent partnership with Anglicare, and of course it probably through your staff as well. They see that going on, and it probably, if I'm right, they all pull together to make this happen. What draws people to an organisation like yours? Because it is I won't say unusual, but it's something that I guess people have to have a particular trait or characteristic to join an organisation like a funeral home. But at the same time, when you see the sort of thing that you're doing with Anglicare, it really is so community spirited and community minded. Is there a special sort of person that you look for when you're staffing your funeral homes? Yeah,
look, we hire on a behavioural model. We like our staff to be able to communicate very effectively with people, have a certain amount of empathy, also some business skills behind them, but also to be able to make sure that they're in the job for the right reasons. They're not just watching CSI at home and thinking that it's all like that, because behind the scenes it's not. So we try and, through our interviewing process, and generally it's quite long-winded, we normally bring you in 2 or 3 times, and before we, you know, get you to be able to undertake your medicals and those type of things. So one of the questions we always ask is, if we were to provide you with the ability during your working day to be able to do something for the local community, what would you do? And how would you find that would benefit yourself personally? And obviously, being able to promote and PR for the local funeral home. So it's the answer that they give to that, which also enables us to be able to dig down as to what they're currently doing in the community, because we want community-focused people. I always say it's better to know a funeral director when you don't need one than to not know one when you do.
Yes,
so
quite true.
So it's important, that all of our staff engage themselves in something. And it's amazing the amount of charities that we look after and that we support. The list goes on and on and on. And a lot of it's born from our staff coming to us and saying, well, okay, we'd like to, maybe support organ donation.
Yes.
Or would like to be able to support the local football club that our children are involved in. Or would like to be able to support the Lions Eye for Sight program, which we do. But same with Anglicare, we provide our funeral homes as collection points for glasses and hearing aids, which people generally have a full drawer of as well.
Yes, they do.
And we use those glasses to be able to, recycle and send to underprivileged people and also third world overseas. So currently across all of our funeral homes, we've, it's been hundreds and hundreds of thousands of pairs of glasses that we've sent, to third world countries to be able to help people, get back on to their life or get a job. And
yes.
It's amazing how that will change somebody's life.
Yes. Yeah. Look, it's one of those things that I'm sure a lot of people don't realise what Pirslows do for the community, and they're first and foremost, of course, they're outstanding funeral directors and run an amazing service for those that have lost a loved one. But also this extracurricular activity, if I could put it that way, that's outstanding. It's great work, and I'm sure a lot of people don't actually realise that that's what you do.
You would be amazed. I'm amazed every day with the type of things that we do that change people's lives. But I guess in a way, being a funeral director, you're changing people's lives every day.
Yeah.
Because you're taking them through a process from when a person passes away and they're in shock and that unbelievable depth of depression or grief, through to a point where if you do the funeral service really well, you've changed not just the direct families' lives, but the people and the mourners that attend those funeral services as well. So by getting us involved in, things that are a little bit philanthropic is a really, really good opportunity that brings our staff together. It's morale boosting for our staff regularly to be able to see what we're able to achieve as a group. And we always say it's one team working together.
Yes.
So if somebody comes up with a good opportunity for us to be able to get involved in, they've been able to then go out, promote that in the community, but promote that to their other staff members and their colleagues to be able to get them all on board. And if you've got, 100 odd people banding together to be able to support something, it's a lot easier than one or two people.
Absolutely it is, and it's just fine work. It really, really is. And just getting back to the blanket appeal, you did tell me that you've managed to collect about 300 blankets.
About 350 blankets so far in the last few weeks since we started the appeal, and that's going to go through to the end of August. So we'll continue that rolling on. Yeah. We've had a lot of great support from the community newspapers.
That's good. Excellent.
And they've been, putting a lot of the messaging out there for us and helping us really get that message out to the community.
Yes.
That to look in the back of the cupboard and see that blanket that you haven't used for a long time and give it to somebody who really needs it.
And if anybody out there has got a few blankets that they have forgotten about, go and have a bit of a look in the linen cupboard and see if there's anything in there that you can drop off to any Pirslow funeral home and make a difference to those that are less fortunate than yourself, and for those that unfortunately due to circumstances are homeless or have to live on the streets for whatever reason. And I think it's an absolutely wonderful cause. So I exhort everybody to go and do that right now, because how would you like to be spending nights out in the last couple of weeks? It'd be pretty awful, wouldn't it?
I think yesterday was the coldest day that we've had so far this year, completely throughout the day.
Yeah.
I know I felt the chill, but I'm lucky enough to be able to have a heater at home, a heater in the office and a heater in the car.
That's right. And you don't really feel it that much, do you?
No, where other people don't have that opportunity.
Okay, just moving along now to perhaps something a little more aligned with what we try and do in this segment called Lifting the Lid. We try and tell people about how things are carried out when someone passes on, and to demystify the whole process of what happens when somebody passes away. But what happens if somebody passes away in another country, or in this country, for example, and needs to go back to their home country? Can you do that?
You certainly can. In the majority of countries, you can do that. It's a matter of us working with a whole pile of departments. We have to work with the health department to be able to get clarification that the person hasn't got any communicable diseases. We have to be able to make sure that we work with the consulates, and the consulates will give us permission after we've provided them all of the appropriate paperwork to be able to then make application to the airlines. And depending on what airline you're using, they'll also have different stipulations as well. Okay. Right. And which country you're going to will have different stipulations as to what's required. We've been doing repatriations for 100 odd years, so we've dealt with every country and every consulate known around the place, and sometimes we even have to fly consular officials in from different parts of the country.
Okay.
Canberra generally.
Yeah.
To be able to put a seal on the coffin, for instance, that we've done all of the appropriate checks and the embalming, and put them in sometimes a metal lined coffin with a glass lid, so that there's no contamination opportunities for those handling things at airports or at the other end when the funerals take place. There's a lot involved.
Yes, I can see that. That's quite a complex process, isn't it?
It is, and without using somebody who's got those specialities, if you were to try and do it yourself, I think you'd find that it'd be months down the track and you'd still be asking advice.
Yes, indeed. So I suppose that it works the other way as well. If you lose a loved one overseas and they have to be brought back into the country, a similar sort of thing happens, but in reverse. Yeah,
similar sort of things. I mean, the death has to be registered in the country, obviously, of the person's passing. It sometimes also has to be registered in this country when the person arrives. There might be a reason why the family might want to get the coroner involved when the person arrives here, to be able to have an autopsy or to be able to check the cause of death from what they've done overseas. The standard of things in different countries is a little bit different.
Right.
So the things like the embalming practices that might happen in, say, Indonesia would be totally different to how we would be able to present a body and embalm over here. So you've got to understand that, if we're receiving a body from overseas, we can't really give you the advice on whether you can have a public viewing and those type of things until such time as we've received the body, being able to have a look and see the state of it, and to be able to then, advise what's going on. You sometimes get the problems with airlines that, you might miss a flight from one flight to the next, so you've got to be careful not to be able to time the funeral too closely to when we receive the deceased in our care, and to be able to give yourself the appropriate time to be able to plan. So, we're here to be able to support you, to be able to give you all of that advice, and we always hope that people listen to that advice as we're starting to be able to, pull things together.
Of course.
And we work very closely with our staff and the consulates and the ambassadors to be able to make sure that we can do it in a dignified and appropriate manner.
Well, yes, it's quite a complex procedure. I'm sure a lot of people didn't know that there was that much involved with doing that. It sounds simple in theory, but just put them in a box and load them into the freight department. It's quite chilly down there.
You can't prop grandma up from that seat that she already had booked to come home in either.
Right. In the case where someone, for example, passes away in another country, but they decide not to repatriate the body. I mean, it happens, of course, in wartime. Those sorts of things happen. But how is that dealt with, Daniel? Do you have a memorial service, or how does that work if the person is buried, let's say, in another country, totally in Indonesia or somewhere like that? Are you able to have a service and or a memorial or something? How can that be done?
Look, it happens regularly.
Does it?
Where sometimes even due to cost of being able to bring a person home, or if they've been visiting family overseas, when something happens, they might decide to be able to have the burial or cremation in that particular country. So what we would generally, we always talk to families about giving themselves the opportunity to be able to say goodbye.
Yes.
So if people aren't able to go over to that funeral service in another country, putting something together like a memorial service is quite easy for us to do for them. And it's an opportunity for everybody to come together, to be able to say their farewells, to be able to have that goodbye that's very, very important for everybody. And, we can facilitate that for them.
Right.
We can also deal with the funeral directors in different countries. Right. So if there's a language barrier, or if there's problems with choosing an appropriate funeral director overseas, we've got alliances with funeral companies all across the world that we can put you in touch with the right people and to be able to help you. From this end, if you're trying to organise, say, a funeral from Perth and the funeral's going to be in Italy, we can speak to the appropriate funeral directors that can help you and assist you.
Okay. And if someone from another country passes away here in Australia and they decide that it's too costly to repatriate the body back to their home country, are there any legal ramifications for burying somebody here? Is there a procedure for that?
No, it's generally the same as whether you're a resident or not. We have to be able to make application to doctors. We need a next of kin, obviously, to be able to sign off that that's the appropriate thing that they need to be doing, that there's no objections from family members if it's going to be a cremation. With a burial, if there's any legalities, we can always, exhume the body and send the body back. But if you're going to have cremation, for instance, you need to be assured that that's what you want to be able to do. And you can still have the service here, and quite often families would fly in or bits and pieces, but we can do everything completely remotely. We can, with emails and faxes and all the rest of it nowadays, and we can do everything if the family are overseas and they want to just deal directly with us. Yeah.
Oh, you've certainly got all the bases covered there, but I suppose you have to, really, because circumstances in which people pass are obviously wide and varied.
It's a small world nowadays.
Well, it
and
is.
people are travelling a lot more than what they used to, and unfortunately things do happen when you're overseas that are unexpected, and we're here to be able to help you deal with those.
Yeah. Daniel, in the case of somebody who, let's say, is on a cruise, and I'm not asking this just because I'm going on a cruise shortly, but if somebody passes away in international waters, are there any complications with that? And how is that dealt with? Do you know?
Generally, most of the cruise liners are pretty actually well set up for it. And what you'll find is that they do have a mortuary on board most of the cruise ships. Okay. But generally they would take the body to the next port, and then you'd have to repatriate the body from whatever port that might be. Okay. Very rarely, but sometimes they will leave the body on board if they're coming back to a home port, and therefore we then deal with the cruise liners and being able to get the body from the ship back onto into Perth and be able to deal with that from there. Cruises are becoming a lot more popular, so we're dealing with it a lot more than what you would think. And a lot of our seniors are going on cruises.
Yes, they are.
And quite often, they might have an ailment like a bad heart and those type of things, where you can still go on a cruise because it's not actually strenuous, but the doctor knows that what to sign off on.
Okay.
We may have to get the coroner involved when we bring you back to Perth if it's a real sudden death of some sort.
Yeah.
And, we deal with both your insurance companies as well.
Yep.
So if you've got travel insurance and bits and pieces, that's generally included in being able to get you home.
Yep.
And we deal with the biggest insurance companies around the place when it comes to, those travel insurance policies.
Yes, yeah. And everybody, by the way, should have travel insurance when they go away. There's no question about that. And what about the Department of Immigration? You leave when you're fit and healthy and then you come back not so fit, not so healthy. Do they get involved in any way?
Well, they do through the consulates.
Ah, right.
Okay, so to bring a body back into Australia, they need to be able to deal with the Australian consulate in whatever country, and they will give permission, and you'll need to give things like the passport across and all those type of things at that particular point in time.
Okay. Look, it's a unbelievably convoluted and complicated process, and I mean, never ever try that on your own after what we've been discussing this morning. It's something that you really do need some expert help with.
And we have to continually keep training ourselves. You might have a change of ambassador in a country and they mix up the rules or they interpret the rules a little bit differently. So it's a matter of dealing with the right authorities to give you the best advice and follow that advice to our best ability.
Fantastic. And look, just in finishing up, once again, we'll just mention Anglicare and the Pirlo blanket appeal. If you do have any blankets anywhere tucked away, doesn't matter what size they are, as long as you've got them and you take them into Pirlo's, they will buy another one to match it and give it to Anglicare to distribute. And I just think that's a fantastic process that you've set in place there, Daniel, and I really urge everybody to participate in that because you can never have too many blankets.
Appreciate it.
Daniel, thanks so much for joining us and demystifying some of the things that are associated with funerals and so on, and we'll look forward to catching up with you again really soon.
Appreciate it.
More on the Sattler File shortly.
This is the Sattler File.
A kiss, a long embrace, a fond farewell should be personal. That's why Pirlo funerals allow you to remember the life of your loved ones in a way that truly reflects their individual character. It's the difference that makes every goodbye unique. For more information about planning a special goodbye, visit pirlofunerals.com.au because every goodbye is different.
This is the Sattler File.